We were talking about this tweet before about that you like this tweet that was talking about how you're going to go to hell. Yeah. That it should get a knighthood. Do you have any interest in a knighthood? Because a lot of British performers end up like getting a knighthood for service to the community or drama or something like that. Was that any interest to you?
Well, it doesn't. It's not like it was in the olden days. If it meant I could go down the street on a horse with a sword killing people, then yes. But it's nothing. It doesn't. It's nothing now. You can't do
badge and stuff like that, and you get like a
badge. Give me a big sword and a horse, then I'll take it. You know what I mean?
Talking about hell before about this tweet about you going to hell.
Yeah.
You know, I do want to say this as we get started on this. Ricky Gervais, I think, is just a brilliant comic. His stand-up. I don't think he started out as a stand-up comic. As a matter of fact, I think he was a singer. And he just was funny, clearly. And he created The Office, which was just brilliant. And Extras is, so good. And then Afterlife, I think, which is an atheist version of how to get through life in what seems to be a painful, evil world. And it lacks a lot of things, and maybe I'll comment on that someday. But right now, I just wanted to establish how much I respect Ricky Gervais. It would be one of my top 10 bucket lists, if I could have an interview for my podcast, would be with Ricky Gervais to talk about comedy, writing comedy, but also about God. And that's, of course, where this is going to go. I believe there is not an atheist I have ever met really that understands what it would mean if God existed. They don't seem to be able to live a consistent life. I even had an interview with an atheist on my podcast, Brad Son Has Issues, you can go find. I don't think you can live a coherent, consistent, authentic life as an atheist by doing atheistic presuppositions. Can you live a moral life? Yeah. But you don't know where your morals come from. Can you live a good life? Yeah, but you have to establish where good comes from. Can you be kind? Yes, but what is kindness? So what they don't do is they take the ramifications of a life and a behavior that they just assume is good on its own. Don't need God to be good. Well, you do. Without an absolute immutable moral authority to establish good from bad. So we don't just make our own subjective feelings driving it, then it's arbitrary. And they don't understand this. If you try to explain to them life has no meaning, they'll say, no, you just give it your own meaning. And as I've said before, metaphorically, if life is a novel, it started from nothing, it played out, and then it ends in the heat death of the universe, which is what's coming. Then everything inside of the novel are chapters. Well, listen, if the entire novel is destroyed, every chapter is destroyed, which means when you think you're being moral, when you think you are giving meaning, if everybody disappears so no one can contemplate your meaning, there is none. Here's the truth. If you go into eternal non-existence at death, you never existed. Because the only one that knows you are here and can evaluate it from an objective perspective, subjective actually, but what we consider objective, which is our own personal perspective, is you. In other words, if somebody says something good or bad about you, but you're not aware of it, it just simply vanishes away. There is no you to contemplate. Once you're not here to evaluate it, it doesn't matter what people are saying, you don't exist. So to die in atheism is to have never existed. I don't know if you understand what I just said. Maybe you don't agree with it, but this is what I want to establish. Love Ricky Gervais, would love to talk to him about God, would love to talk to him about his comedy. But in this particular case, the most important case of all, he's missed the boat, and I'd love to talk to him about it. Let's see what happens.
I know that you're an atheist, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. People have been debating that.
He said he was an atheist, and people applauded. For what? Atheism says, I don't believe in God. What's the applause? What have you accomplished? I don't believe in I don't know, unicorns. Would people applaud? I don't believe in that Nazism is a good thing. I guess people would applaud for that. But I mean, I guess I'm just trying to say, what is the applause for atheism? It's a non-belief. So what have you accomplished? It's easy to not believe something.
That's the devil waiting for you in hell, by the way. Would you want to debate the existence of God? Okay. Yeah. So Ricky Gervais, why is there something instead of nothing?
That makes no sense at all.
You have to answer my question.
That's not the two choices.
No, but it's the choices I'm giving you. I'm the host.
Well, I don't...
You want to concede the debate? Why is there something instead of nothing?
Hold on.
Yes?
What do you mean, out of nothing? What do you...
Why is there something instead of why is there nothing? Why does the universe exist at all? Why is there something? But
surely the bigger question is not why, but how. Well, why?
Okay. This is so crucial. This is literally the crux, the foundation of why atheism absolutely fails in anything they have to say, in anything they have to do, in any perspective they have. It fails right here. Teleology, meaning. What is the meaning? What is the purpose? Atheists deny ultimate meta-narrative meaning, that there's a novel. They deny the novel. It's just an accident. So what? We just happened to pop up. Things exploded. Things cooled. Chemicals somehow arranged themselves and then became cognizant. Chemicals, stones, rocks, minerals, carbon somehow became biological. There's none of this can be accounted for. It makes no sense in any way, shape, or form. But it eventually reached a place where people could think and say, why am I here? If it was a natural occurrence, you would never even have the thought, why am I here? And yet it's one of the original human questions. Why would we even think that way? If this is a natural progression of evolution, why would we even care why we're here? It's just natural. We're just living, eating, having sex, sleeping, dying, and that's that. It would be so simple. But humans have a complexity, a sophistication, a desire to have a deeper knowledge that something else is here. Makes no sense. It's not helpful evolutionarily. All that evolution does is allow you to survive. You don't need anything other than what keeps you alive. To believe in meaning doesn't help anything. All you need to do is stay alive. But once you die, you were never here. Atheism can never answer this question, and it's the one question they don't even understand, nor do they know how to contemplate it. I just stopped the video right here. I haven't seen this yet. You watch where this goes.
Is irrelevant.
Okay, fine. How is there something? Because you think of God as the prime mover. How is there anything?
Well, I don't. This is a
Is there a prime mover? Is there a demiurge that started everything?
Well, outside science and nature, I don't believe so. Because the interesting thing is
outside science, he's now replacing as religion, and nature, the creativity that he's in some ways implying, I might be getting this wrong, that science kind of is the interpreter of nature. So notice what he's already avoided. Nature's here. Why? It doesn't matter. It got here by evolution, chemical reactions, that eventually we found DNA, and it turned into this sort of biological entity that came into being and eventually created a brain and the ability to think about, why did I get here in the first place? But what got it here in the first place was there was no direction. There was no thought. It was just happened by magic. Atheists believe in magic. Remember, the Big Bang proves that there was nothing and then suddenly it appears. That is impossible unless there was something that's outside of nature that put it into place. Now, of course, that's God. He proved himself that way. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But they don't believe that. They believe the Genesis story of the atheist is, in the beginning, there was nothing, and it blew up. That's what he's about to try to contemplate. Not noticing the irony that show me in any scientific context where dead, inert matter comes alive. death becomes life. Show me any scientific proof that that has ever happened or could happen. It's completely unscientific. And yet nature exists, and they say since it's already here, it just happens by accident. You want to talk about a fantasy. You want to talk about living by faith. And most importantly, you want to talk about living illogically, not deep, not scientific. Things don't happen by magic. Isn't that what science is all about? But the very beginning of everything, of nature, either happened by a purpose because it's all DNA driven, it all has a complexity written in its code, or it happened by magic. And they're the ones that mock religious folks who simply say there must be a mind that started it all. You watch where this goes.
This is the thing, right? So I'm an agnostic atheist, technically. Agnostics means no one knows whether there's a God. So everyone's technically agnostic. We don't know.
That's true.
So
that's true.
An agnostic atheist is someone who doesn't know there's a God or not, as no one does.
So you're not convicted of your atheism?
Well, I am.
Sure.
No, I am, because atheism is only rejecting the claim that there is a God. Atheism isn't a belief system. Mm-hmm. So this is atheism in a nutshell. You say, there's a God. I say, can you prove that? You say no. I say, I don't believe you then.
So he wrote the whole script. You say, there's a God. I say, can you prove that? You say, no. So I don't believe you. Well, how do you know we can't prove it? Now here's the key that stumbles all the atheists. The atheists want to write the script. Proof to them means that the way that we discern a molecule or Saturn or chemistry or mathematics, this sort of tangible ability to say 2 + 2 is 4, an abstract reality that we can prove, or the ability to believe that life seems to have logic, it seems to have reason. None of these things, by the way, are material, but that's what we use to discern the physical world. All of those things lend themselves to believe that something started this, that everything else we've ever seen about life, if there's a code, for example, in your DNA, a coder did that. If there is material, it was put into place, right? If you build a car, somebody built it. If there's a tree, it must have been built. They want to act like it happens all by itself. There's no motivating force. Well, that isn't logical. But they've already removed God from the possible equation. Thus, they have no option but to say things happen magically, given enough time, enough chemistry, enough universes. I mean, it is constantly trying to define God as, if I can't see him in a test tube, if I can't see him he splits the sky and shows up and says, ta-da, it's God, then he doesn't exist. They're trying to define how God must be seen, and they're using it through scientific terms and material formulas. God is immaterial. So number one, you can't see God with your eyes. There's another way to see him. It's called faith. And faith means that you're just making it up, conjuring it up, like you have faith that there's a Santa Claus or a tooth fairy. No, because we know Santa Claus and a tooth fairy aren't real. We even know who created that. But what we also know by millions and millions and millions of people over so much time is we all have this sense of wonder that something else is there. And we then look at the creation and say, well, what if there was somebody that invented this? Well, that would make sense, but they couldn't be a tree if the tree's there. It had to be something that's not a tree. It couldn't be material because material can't create itself, so it has to be outside of material. It has to be a spirit. Now you say, well, how can you prove a spirit? That's our problem, says the atheist. How can you prove that? I mean, at least we can look at tangible things and put them in a microscope and look at them and say, there it is. But God we don't get to see, so how can we really prove him? And we say, well, he's implied by the fact that, at least logically, all-powerful, all-knowing, all-creative, powerful mind that exists on its own and then decides I'm making something, like there's dirt and water, and you decide, put it all together, turn it into clay and make a cup out of it. Didn't exist. I put it into place. You would say, yeah, you designed it. Well, that would make sense here. But to create everything we know of, from the universe, and as vast and gigantic as it is, to the human body, would have to be a mind so complex as to be almost unimaginable. So you start thinking, well, that's who God would be if we believed in him. So yeah, we prove God, but not the way we prove other things. We prove him by implication. And then when we begin to believe in him, we begin to see things. It seems to make sense now. It seems to come together. By the way, we don't abandon science. We use science to look at things that were made and make some observations. That's where the atheist constantly mixes it up and decides, I'm here by accident, and yet I can't account for why I'm here. It doesn't matter. It's by magic, by accident. That's enough for me. And why does the majority of humans throughout human history, no matter how advanced we've become, believe in God? Why do most people still, there's more? Even if you were given information, no, there's not, you can't prove it. It's not compelling enough for us. People see God and they say, I see him. When I accepted him, I knew it was true. The atheist says, I don't. We all see the same information. Somebody says yes, somebody says no. The atheist presumes because they said no, they're smarter, wiser, and have more insight than the rest of us. Prove it. Prove that there's no God. They never force themselves to do that. They always make you prove there is a God. They can't do it either. So we're now stuck at an impasse. But which one gives us meaning, purpose, morals, ethics, virtue? God or no God? God, the creator, the judge, the arbiter, the game maker. They have nothing but subjective desires, emotivism, like Alex O'Connor. Whatever I like is good. Whatever I don't like is bad. That's scary. That's how Nazis lived.
So, you believe in one God, I assume?
In three persons, but go ahead.
Okay, so you believe... Okay. Mm-hmm. So, but there are about 3,000 to choose from that have been, people...
There are 3,000 to choose from? Yeah, there's other gods. Obviously, people believe in Islam. People believe Hinduism. People believe in Jainism. People believe in polytheism. People believe in paganism. There's lots of gods to choose from. He's absolutely 100% right. Tell me one other of those thousands of gods that actually was predicted to come into place outside of time and space, predicted in the Old Testament, the Torah given to the Jews. A guy's coming who's going to represent the sacred lamb that died for the sin of the world. And then he shows up and he does all these predictions. Jesus Christ, he really shows up. He really was born in Bethlehem. How could they have known that? He was really betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. How could they know that? He was really pierced through for our transgressions. In other words, on a tree. In other words, on a cross. It didn't exist as a punishment when that was written. How did they know that? He was going to be born of a virgin. I know you're saying, well, she wasn't. She got pregnant by somebody else. But an angel of spirits said to her, this is how it's going to work. She even asked, how is this going to work? So again, you have to believe the story, but it's all been accounted for, that he's, is going to ride into Jerusalem on a donkey. All of these things were predicted. Then he shows up, fulfills them all. Also did miraculous things. Even people who didn't believe in him said, yeah, he did these crazy things. He healed people. It's like, I don't know. And then he died and rose from the dead, and people saw it and died for it. You don't have to believe any of this is true. But there's never been a historical, documented human being on earth fulfilling a prophecy to prove that it's something outside of time and space, to have actually done what was asked for God to say, you are free from sin. Those who believe in this justice that I put upon my son who didn't deserve it, came back from the dead and has been proven to be so. All the secular historians that don't believe that Jesus was God all at least agree on this. He was crucified. So the guy really was here. Whether you believe he's Messiah or not, that's another story. This guy's like nobody else. The game changer, Jesus Christ. One of a kind, nobody else has him. Came to the Jews first. Most of them rejected him. But those who didn't, who saw their Messiah, became Christ followers. And then the most amazing thing, everybody was welcomed in. Gentiles, everybody, women, children, anybody that wanted this Messiah, he was available to anybody because he wasn't Jewish. He was egalitarian. available for all who would want him. But that precious line of lineage to prove where he was coming from, the Jews who kept that sacred, is how we get here. So the argument there's other gods, he's acting like they're all the same. Nobody's even close. Nobody but Christ followers, Christians, have Jesus.
I've done some reading, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So basically, you believe in, you deny one less God than I do. You don't believe in 2,999 gods, and I don't believe in just one more.
Right. Do you...
When you clap for that, it tells me you're ignorant. You have no sense of depth of philosophy. You have no sense of depth of God, and you're not taking God seriously. These people are applauding their doom. Christ is the only way to the Father. He said so. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth him shall not perish but have everlasting life. Remember, he's historically verified. None of these other guys are.
Ever have a feeling of great gratitude for existence?
Of course.
Do you ever have?
I know the chances are billions to one that I am on this planet as me and never will be again.
And I know I can't convince you that there is a God, nor do I really want to convince you there's a God, but
no.
I can only explain my experience, which is that I have a strong desire to direct that gratitude toward something or someone.
Of course.
And that thing is God.
We're mortal. We want to make sense of nature and science, and it's too unfathomable that everything in the universe was once crunched into something smaller than an atom.
But you don't know that.
Well,
you're just believing Stephen Hawking, and that's a matter of faith in his abilities.
Yes.
You don't know it yourself. You're accepting that because someone told you.
Yeah, well, but science is constantly proved all the time. You see, if we take something like any fiction, in any holy book, in any other fiction, and destroyed it, okay, in 1,000 years' time, that wouldn't come back just as it was.
Yeah.
How does he know that? How does he know that? As a matter of fact, did you know that if all of the ancient scriptures, biblical scriptures, were eliminated, the fathers and those church fathers that came after were written down things that they quoted about the Bible, and that if all those quotations were gathered and comprised, basically the entire Bible has been rewritten because of the quotations of the original documents. Did you know that? That's impossible. It's miraculous. The fact that the Bible was written over 1,500 years, 66 books that were accepted as canon, that really had to do with someone who actually was a disciple or knew one, and that was revelatory. And 40 different people over 1,500 years, some who were kings, some who were paupers, some who were in prison, some who were in palaces, wrote this book from the beginning to the end. It makes sense. It's a novel. It's amazing. It's a one-of-a-kind book. It's like none other that exists. It's what makes it proof there must be something else happening with this book than any other book in history. All the proofs are given to you, but they're not given to you easily. You have to search them out. You have to desire them. Remember, atheism is systemic narcissism. Atheism is worship of self. And anything that humans come up with, science, which they pretend invents things. It doesn't. It reveals what already exists and simply makes that observation and shows how God's handiwork works. We use principles like material that exists, and then we craft it into something like an airplane or a computer. Amazing. Fantastic. But all that material and all the ability for that to take place had to exist before humans could contemplate it. This is where God gave us all the architecture, all the information, and all we had to do was begin to trust that this is what he wants us to do, to procreate, to continue to take dominion. He gave us what all of this is so that we could turn it into something most amazing and prove he's existent. These guys don't. They simply want to worship whatever they come up with. It is the original sin, pride. I am God. Don't need another one.
Whereas if we took every science book, right, and every fact, and destroyed them all, in 1,000 years, they'd all be back.
Every science book, destroyed them all, would come back. Really? How about the science that tried to say that astrology was legitimate? How about the science that said that people's craniums proved that they were lesser human than another? How about the science books that said, let's say, that the sun revolved around the earth? No. You're right. Science changes and evolves as it realizes how much it doesn't know. And the one thing no one has even come close to is creating life. It simply doesn't exist. It's impossible. But here we are. And there's a book, the Bible, that tells us how we got here. Science can't even begin to account for it. So once again, he's making these little broad declarations about science, how powerful it is and how it's changing and growing and how it all come back together. No, there's tons of science that would be abandoned. It doesn't work. There's a lot of people that are really rejecting neo-Darwinism as a theory that simply doesn't work.
Because all the same tests would be the same result.
That's good. That's really good.
So
That's really good.
I don't need faith in science. I don't need faith to know that probably if I jump out of a window, every other time someone jumps out, they smash to the ground because of this thing called gravity.
And then Satan would be raping you.
This is why I'm a good boy.
Ricky, please come back and debate something even more important.
Sure.
David Brent, Life on the Road, is on Netflix February 10th. Ricky Gervais.
What is the most disturbing is he smiles at the camera like he's done something good. Remember, he's a missionary for atheists. I pray for Ricky Gervais because I think he's a brilliant comic. I think he's a very smart guy. I love his truth-telling. I love his anti-political correct point of view. So I guess in conclusion, what I think most saddened me was Ricky looking at the audience with a big old grin like, look what I've accomplished. I'm a missionary for atheism, and haven't I done a wonderful thing? Everybody's applauding and clapping like he had some deep philosophical insight. And it was very shallow and very weak, and there was nothing deep or even serious about it. The God idea, the God concept, is the single most important story you can have. There is no line more important than this. Does God exist? The answer to that question answers every question you'll have from then on. Folks, as I said, I think he's a brilliant comedian. Love what he has done, and just so impressed. And yeah, I would be happy. I would be ecstatic to interview him someday. Don't know that that would ever happen. He's a big, big shot. I'm not. But I'm a Christian. I'm a conservative. I'm a comedian. And I'm a theist Christian. So it might be of interest to him. I don't know. He does seem to have an affinity for fellow comedians. If not, though, I pray that one day he sees the bigger picture. There is a novel to the story of his life that's bigger than him, more important than him. It's God. Hope you enjoyed that. There'll be more to come, but it's all about trying to find the ultimate truth. God is real. Life can't exist without him. Certainly can't make any sense. He revealed himself in Jesus Christ. It is the way, the truth, and the life. This is God's comic, Brad Stine. Hope you enjoyed it.